Seeing that it's 6:30, I'd like to call the meeting to order in the absence of Melanie Jewell, Chair, who will be here before too long. So let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now I want to make sure, can our audience hear us? It looks like our owl is not. Let me make sure the owl.
I can hear you. I can
Okay,
hear
thank
you.
you. Thank you, Nicholas.
I can.
We can hear you, but we're only looking at Bruce. Is there any way of stopping that?
Consider yourself lucky, Kenny.
Oh, gee, thanks.
I'm not sure that the audio is, or the video is tracking the audio. Let me just look at a quick adjustment here. Okay, I'm not sure why that is. Maybe the owl will perk up to life here in a moment.
It does have a blue light on.
Yeah.
Just keep smiling, Bruce.
Yeah. Bruce will relocate, right?
The face of the town of Belleville.
Okay, well, I don't know what to tell you folks. I'm sorry about that. I'll tell you what. Maybe it'll help a little bit if I just sit right here, at least for the moment. So,
Try to activate.
yeah,
So do we need a motion to open the public hearing
So moved.
and a second?
Rick, can you second
Rick, can
it?
you Second?
Yep. Seconded.
Moved and seconded.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Yes?
Yes,
Yep.
yes.
Yes.
Rick?
Okay.
Okay. Okay, so the public hearing is on 2 items for the secret ballot referendum for June 14th, 2022 election. Number 1 is to see if the town will vote to decrease the size of the Board of Parks and Recreation from 10 members with 2 alternates to 7 voting members with 2 non-voting members, consisting of a youth representative and a seasonal representative. This article will replace Article 56 of the 2002 warrant. So should we see if there are any questions about this and take them separately? Does anybody have any questions or discussion on the proposal to decrease the size of the Board of Parks and Recreation? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to the second issue. Number 2, to see if the town of Belgrade will vote to join the Maine Public Employees Retirement System, Maine PERS, as a participating local district effective July 1, 2022 for its full-time firefighters and emergency medical service employees under Special Plan 3C with a limited period open enrollment provision. All other employees are excluded from participation at this time. The town will allow the purchase of credit for the firefighters and emergency medical service employees' past employment with the town and authorizes the select board to make an agreement with the firefighters/emergency medical service employees regarding how the town will share in the cost for this purchase. The town authorizes the town manager and the select board chair to jointly sign the agreement between the town and the Maine Public Employees Retirement System. So we'll be voting on that one as well. Any comments on the second issue concerning Maine PERS? Seeing none. Is there a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
1, 2, 3.
Okay, thank you.
There you go. It's working now. The owl.
all right, thank you, sir.
Oh, good. All right, so could I have a motion to open the meeting for the Board of Select Persons, April 19th, 2022?
So moved.
All in favor? Okay. First section of the meeting is public comment. Does anybody have any business under public comment?
I do, if no one else does.
Well, I know that Diane Dowd was joining us
Oh.
and she wanted to mention something.
She
So,
was on.
so,
She
so-
was on.
so Diane, are you there?
She's muted.
Still muted.
So let Carol go ahead?
Yeah.
Okay, so Carol, why don't you go ahead and then we'll have Diane, she's available.
I just wanted to make a note that as we're meeting here today, Seven Lakes is doing a webinar on curly leaf pondweed. And this is a weed that was found up in the Serpentine between North Pond and East Pond last summer. DEP worked aggressively to try to remove it, but it will probably still, some of it will still be there. And it's one of those items that we're facing invasives now, not just milfoil, but these other invasives that are coming in. So what I'm not able to see it today, but they are going to be posting it once they finish.
Would you,
We'll be looking to post it on the LA website, and I would ask that the town post it on their website. It all flows downstream. That was a 7LA workshop that we did, a webinar we did in March, the very end of March. And on that is featured the Long Pond Management Survey and some of the challenges that we're looking because both Great Pond and Long Pond are impaired lakes. And I really feel that the select board, the town committees, and members of the public need to be looking at these programs that we're now putting together and making available. And then there also is a meeting next April 27th. Is that
Wednesday.
maybe next
Next
Wednesday
Wednesday.
night, which is a Lakes Committee meeting with the planning board and the comprehensive review.
Comprehensive plan implementation.
Okay, you got it. Okay. And that's from 6 to 7:30. These are all really important issues. And I think all of us recognize the importance of the lakes to our tax base. And I would urge that we attend them and also that we put on the next agenda or very shortly on the agenda to discuss water quality and perhaps using some of our ARPA funds to direct the active pollution sites that the town owns on the lakes. So I'd like to get that out there and start on it.
Good. Thank you. Diane. You're muted.
Muted still.
Diane,
You're muted.
can you hear me now?
There we go.
I'm representing the Belgrade Historical Society. I wanted to let the board know that the Old Town Meeting House, we have completed our outside renovations and it is all now fully electric. Work is all done both inside and outside and should be ready for the Memorial Day services.
Super.
And also from the library, I wanted to let you know that we chose a community reads book for 2022. The book we chose is The Lowering Days by Gregory Brown. It's a fictional novel taking place in Maine, and he's a Maine author. The book is a lot shorter than last year's book, only 271 pages versus 500 pages.
And it's a great book. I've already read it. It's a really good book.
What's the name again?
The Lowering Days.
The Lowering Days.
And we anticipate having a number of programs that will center around the book at the library this summer. Thank you.
Perfect.
Thank you, Diane.
Sarah, my dad also has her hand up.
Oh, okay. Sarah?
Yes, the meeting went so fast at the beginning when you were, had the voting on the, change on the warrants for June 14th. I was not aware that that motion was gonna be done at the beginning. Can you briefly go over what was voted and approved on that first motion?
So Sarah, the only votes were to open and close the public hearing. So the select board previously voted to put both of these articles on the June 14th ballot. One of them related to reducing the number of members on the Board of Parks and Recreation. And the other is to allow our firefighters to participate in a retirement system that is separate and apart from the one that the rest of the town employees are a part of.
Oh, great. When the motions went going quickly, I thought you, instead of recreation board, you guys said the school board. I said, what? I missed that. So that's good. I'm good. Thank you. Sorry about that.
And it was just for discussion anyway. There was no vote. It was just a chance for public comment.
Thanks.
Okay. Old business.
We need a motion to open it.
Yeah, so we have, we need a motion to approve the minutes from April 5th meeting, and also then after that, a motion to
Okay.
approve the minutes of the April 13th meeting.
Okay.
So
I move that we open the discussion of the April 5th.
I'll second it.
Thank you.
okay.
Any discussion?
No, I move we approve the April 5th minutes.
Second?
I'll second it.
You? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. And for the April 13th select board meetings, that was the executive session.
Make that motion.
Second.
All in favor? Okay,
Okay.
3 in favor. Thank you. So moving on to new business, we have the appointment of Deborah Lord Cook on the Comprehensive Plan Implementation Committee. Could I have a motion? We need a motion to
Open the new business.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, we'll have a motion to vote you on. So normally this is a chance for people to just say a little bit about themselves and why they're interested in serving the town and on that particular committee.
Okay, well, I'm Deborah Lord Cook, but most people know me as Dee. And my family on both my mother's side and father's side has been part of Belgrade, for generations, really. My mother's side of the family is up where Winterberry Garden Farm is, and so they were the Farmer family. And the Lords were up on the Point Road. So I have a deep roots here, and I've always wanted to have time to donate or, volunteer to help my community better in any way that I can. So I finally am in a place of my life where I'm here more often. I'm here now. I'm not traveling as much as I used to. And I would like to spend some time, doing what I can.
I move that we approve the application of D. Cook to serve on the Comprehensive Plan Implementation Committee.
Second.
All in favor? Okay.
Okay.
Welcome aboard. Thank you very much. And we're coming up on a review and a rewrite of the comprehensive plan
Okay,
implementation.
so I can get that in online.
It is.
Yes, it is online. It is
I'll
online.
email you a link tomorrow.
Okay, that
Yeah.
sounds great.
Yeah.
We waited till you got appointed before we told you that.
Oh, I don't mind all that.
Every 10 years, we have to update it. So
Okay, that sounds
I think
great.
2024 is when
Correct.
we do the update.
And the next meeting is.
I'll send you that as well.
All right, thank
Okay,
you.
thanks, Dave.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Discussion and consideration of the contract for the code enforcement software.
So we have again with us tonight, Joseph Vernon. He is an executive, account executive with iWorks, which is a software company from whom we're looking to buy this software. And also joining us is our code enforcement officer, Richard Greenwald. So as you guys know, this is something that was discussed during the budget process. The voters did approve the budget as it stood with this line item in it. And you previously received a presentation from Joseph about the software. Just as a reminder, this contract is $6,000 for the initial year, and that includes the setup. And then it's $3,500 each year thereafter for the subscription cost. We're recommending approval of this. Richard will be visiting with some other towns to see how they operate it and how they have it set up. We've also gotten some feedback both from the planning board and the comp plan committee, just as far as the data that they think it would be important for us to gather in order to have, to be able to better assess how our code enforcement activities are going. So, so Joseph is here to answer any questions that you might have, as is Richard and myself as well.
Well, I was impressed with the presentation when we had it a month or so ago. So I don't really have any questions. I think it seems like it would be a good asset for the code enforcement officer and would better enable him to serve the planning board.
Yeah, well, I think one of the key aspects of this, and Joseph, please weigh in if you like, is that it will give us an opportunity to better track cases as they progress through a process. And so right now, it's really a matter of keeping a tickler file where, Richard sent an enforcement letter not too long ago saying, hey, we need you erected a shed, you didn't seek a building permit, we need your building permit by such and such date. And then we have to go to the calendar and create a reminder on that. And I think this software will better help us to track this all along the way, including, doing the reports right in there, creating the reports and adding the photos and everything that he takes when he's out in the field. So I agree. I think it will professionalize our code enforcement, if you will.
Well, the other thing, when we did one of the recommendations from the review committee was that we find a way to keep track of what was happening in the office, that whatever was working, whatever we had before wasn't working. And that was one of the recommendations that George Seal presented in October, November. So
Right.
I think this is a way that will be, and it was approved by the town. So I think we should move forward with it.
Yeah.
Rick, do you have any questions or comments?
There's no question. I don't need to know why we're talking about it now. The taxpayers approved it, so that's what needs to be done.
Okay,
I move that we execute the contract for the code enforcement software.
I'll second it.
okay. All in favor? Okay, three in favor. Thank you.
The only reason, this had to be done in a board meeting. That's the only reason it's here again.
Okay, the next item is discussion and consideration of request for proposal first for road paving and chip sealing. So
Yeah.
Anthony, you want to walk us through that?
Yeah, I will. And Jason Stevens, our road commissioner, is online as well. So this RFP that I sent you guys last week so you can get an early read on it is based on a template that was provided by the Gardner Public Works Director. He was really helpful in helping me to walk through this process. He helped tweak the specs for the roads, particularly those that endure a lot of heavy traffic like Depot Road does with the school buses and the gravel trucks down there, Old Route 27 with the Gagney traffic down there, and Transfer Station Road as well. And he also double checked my calculations as far as the estimated tonnage in square yards, which is really, really helpful. There is one thing that I do need to add to one of the bid tabs, and that is to add, and Jason reminded me of this today, both excavation and gravel to the School Street bid, because that road is so chewed up, we're gonna have to excavate it, lay some new gravel as part of that. So that would be added to the bid tab. Now, in talking with the Gardner Public Works Director, he suggested foregoing the bidding of the chip sealing simply because there's only one outfit in New England that does that sort of work. And he said all of the other contractors will subcontract with that contractor and then tack on
Just tack
a little
on the
extra
Right.
for that bid. I explained that, you know, we've got a policy that says anything over $15,000 we put out to bid. So in thinking about it a little further, I mean, one way that we could possibly address that is just put the RFP out for bid, and we could split the contract. And that is, if the chip sealing contractor provides the lowest bid for the chip sealing, we could award that. And if a different contractor provides a better bid than that outfit on the paving, then we could award it to two different vendors. So that's one potential way to go about that. Lastly, I ran into Rick last week, and he mentioned just because of the fuel prices, that's going to affect the bids. And the Gardner recently did award a bid and confirmed that was the case, that the costs were higher because of the price of fuel. And Ricky said that, you know, depending upon the bids that we get, we may need to delay this project a year. I mean, that's for down the road. We'll see how that
Right.
goes. Of course, the other option would simply be to scale back the work
Right.
as well. So anyway, so if you guys have questions about the RFP, both Jason and I would be happy to try to answer those.
Yes, I got a question, if I can. You said about you're gonna have to add gravel to your proposal now, the RFP. Am I correct on that?
So we have so what we're doing with gravel, Rick, is we have a couple of roads that need gravel. They were already in the RFP. I just didn't have them on the bid tab. So it's just a matter of putting them in the bid tab. But what we're going to do with that is we want to break out those costs, because if Jason can do that work cheaper than a contractor can, we may remove that from the contract, have Jason do that instead, if we can get that cheaper by having him do that.
That's kind of what I thought you were saying, but I wanted to make sure. So in other words, this RFP is not ready to go because you've got to take the gravel out of that. Am I correct?
No, we want to go ahead and bid with the gravel and see what sort of pricing that we get on that. And if Jason can do the gravel cheaper than what our low bidder can, then we want to remove that piece from the contract and have Jason do that work instead.
Okay. I'm not sure that the contractor is going to be real happy about that.
Just
But
gonna say, is that fair to the contractor though? Because it's almost like, give us your price and then we'll see if we can beat it.
I give a price before and see if, instead of matching, I mean, I get a price from Rick on gravel and measure out. And I don't know how. Anthony
I
said,
don't know how you can do that. It's a real gray area.
Morris always did it himself. He always, like, if he had to gravel in a section of road, he would do it. So, but Anthony was saying Gardner recommended putting it in with the bid contract for the paving. So I don't know how that should work.
We've never done that way, and I'm not sure it's a good way, but that's my personal opinion. If I was a contractor there and that happened, I'd probably be really ticked off. I spent a few hours getting this bid put together, and then some of it goes away. I don't think it's right.
Well, because essentially they're bidding on the whole project. So sometimes they're gonna take a loss in another area in order to make it up over here. And then if we pull a big chunk out of what they've bid on, then is that gonna make us less favorable as a town to bid to as well? If what they bid on may not be what they end up doing.
Well, if that's the concern, I mean, we could either take the gravel out and just say, Jason, we're gonna have you do the gravel. We could leave it in and just accept whatever bid that we get from the contractor when it comes to the cost of the gravel. I wonder too, so what do you think about this idea, Rick? What if we talk about this at the pre-bid meeting, which is a mandatory meeting for the contractors to attend, to say, listen, we want you to bid the gravel, but if If we think we can do it cheaper, we're gonna remove that piece from the contract and get their feedback about that at that point.
And if they say they don't like that, then would you just leave it in?
We can just leave
It
it.
might work, but I'm sure Jason can do it less money than what they're gonna put in to do it, Paul.
So do you think we should just remove the gravel from it entirely
Just have Jason do the
and
gravel.
let the contractors know that our road commissioner is gonna be doing the gravel?
That's what we've always done. I mean, I think that's the cleanest way to do it.
How does that integrate? I mean, is that going to be a problem coordinating with the new contractor having Jason do part of it? I don't know how that works.
Yeah, I don't think that would be an issue. Do you, Jason?
No, I mean, I've done it with Morris in the past. We always, there's a section of road that needs to be dug up. We dig it up and, you know, we have somebody haul the gravel, and I'll like Ricky or whatever, and we just gravel it in. It's all by the hour, time and material. So it's not like it's a markup on the job. You
Yeah.
know,
The other thing about the whole thing, you know it gets done right. You don't have to be right there. Somebody else have to be right there and watch it.
I think maybe we should remove it and just have Jason do it.
Seems like that would be the cleanest.
Okay. Well, as you guys know, I have the utmost confidence in Jason.
easy now.
So what do you think on that, Ricky? Remove the gravel, have Jason do it, let the contractors know, we'll just take that piece out of the bid.
That was my suggestion. That was kind of what I was questioning to begin with.
All right, so. Do we need to make a motion on that?
I think that would be good.
I think we got it.
I'll make the motion on that. That would take the gravel out of that. I'm
All
sorry.
right, I'll second that. Any further discussion on gravel? All right, seeing none. Ricky,
Voting on the gravel?
we're moving on the removal of the gravel.
Yes.
Okay. Barbara?
Yes.
Carol?
Yes.
All right, 4 yeses. Let's throw that out of there. Jason, you're the gravel man.
And I'm gonna take the excavation out too, since that's part of the gravel
Okay,
process.
so excavation and gravel will be removed. Perfect. And,
So we still will need a vote on the RFP as a whole, and a decision as to whether or not you want to bid the chip sealing or not bid the chip sealing. And Melanie, what I explained about that is, of course, you saw the background memo that there's only one place in
Right.
New England that does that. But in thinking about it a little bit more, we could leave that in there and just split the contract where we award the chip sealing to whoever's the low bidder on that portion of the contract, and the paving portion on whoever's the low bidder there.
So does that mean you gotta redo that RFP? I mean, with the gravel out of there, you kind of gotta, correct? I'm not trying
I mean,
to work on you, that's for sure, but I just want it right when it goes out to begin with.
yeah, it'll be minor changes to the specs, right? Because it's simply a matter of going through both the narrative and in the bid tab and just taking the, and it's only, I think, only on 3 roads that we're doing that. Transfer Station Road, Depot Road, and School Street that we're doing that. So I think those are very minor edits that I can do in the morning before sending it out. And again, if you guys decide that you may want to split the contract, then we'll just make that clear that we will be awarding the low bidder for the paving and the low bidder for the chip seal. And those may not be the
May
same
not be the
contract.
same.
So how does splitting the contract change? How is that different from having 2 separate contracts?
You would have 2 separate contracts. at that
Okay,
point.
so it's the same.
so should we just simply make it 2 separate RFPs?
You could do that as well.
Because then that would keep it clean. And then if the only one who does it in the state comes back, because I don't want somebody who's like, we don't do this, but yeah, hey, let's see if we can get into the chip sealing. And then they submit a low bid,
Mm.
and then we end up in a training camp for chip sealing.
Okay.
We've been there.
Yeah. luckily-
Right.
Luckily, the way this is configured is essentially two documents that's been put together, so.
Yeah,
So we can split them and just go ahead, and if we get one bid for the RFP for the chip sealing,
Mhm.
cross our fingers and hope it's a good one.
Yeah,
Okay, so do we need a motion for the cut mix asphalt paving to
Yeah,
accept the RSP? I move that we-
yes, so
that we approve the RFP as amended
the RFP for the road paving,
for the hot mix asphalt paving.
I'll second
I'll
that.
second.
Ooh. Rock, paper, scissors. All right, any further discussion on that?
Did we put a deadline on paving for the contractors, Anthony? Is that gonna be in that?
it's August 31st.
August 31st, okay, yeah. I think they should have a deadline so it doesn't lead into like September, October, November.
It's like November.
Yeah,
So
That's getting into hunting season.
well, don't get such a good job. That too.
Ricky's joking, but our last contractor, one of the reasons they didn't finish on time was because too many of their guys were apparently taking off for hunting. Once you got to the fall. But just as a reminder, yes, August 31st should be the deadline to complete the work, and we're giving them 2 weeks to bid the work. And I did check with the contractor to make sure that was adequate time to submit a bid.
Okay,
Sounds good.
all right, so we've got a motion and a second on the bid for the asphalt hot mix. So, and if there's no more discussion, Ricky?
Oh, I'm confused again here. So we're voting on the RFP the way it is? Is that correct?
No.
As
So,
amended.
so it's as amended. So the RFP for the hot mix asphalt is gonna be, the gravel and excavation is gonna be removed. And the chip sealing is coming out totally because it's gonna be a
Okay.
separate RFP.
As long as it's been changed, I'll vote for it. But we're gonna have to, we really shouldn't approve it tonight, but right, but we could come in and sign it, I guess.
Yeah, because otherwise we're gonna be another 2 weeks and then 2 weeks
Right.
after
I know, and
that.
that's what I'm looking at, but I just don't. You know me,
So Can we
I
have,
like it
can
right.
we have, can
I
we
can
have
stop in the
Anthony
morning
take
and
that
sign.
out and send it to us via email?
no. I don't think that's a good idea. I mean, we can look at it that way, but we gotta vote on it. All right, we gotta come in and sign it or something. We can't do it over the internet. No.
Right, no. What I was saying is, can he change it and send it in? If we vote tonight to approve it as amended, he sends
Yes.
it via email, where we all take a look at it, and we're like, this is what we were anticipating. We have so many days to look at it, and then we need to come by the office and sign.
Well, I don't think the RFP doesn't need to be signed by the board.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So if you're looking at the RFP, the first page of the RFP, I mean, this is what's going to change. So when you see Depot Road there, the third sentence says gravel to be added by contractor. I'll simply strike that out of there, and that'll be the only change that would be needed. So the same thing would be true on School Street and on Transfer Station Road and Transfer Station Complex as well. So on those first 2 pages, those are the only 2 pages that will be affected by that until you get to the bid tab, which are these little charts in the back.
Right.
And so you see a line item there for Project H, that Transfer Station Road, where it says excavation and added gravel. And those are things we would just simply take out of that chart.
I'm fine with that, if you're gonna do that.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, very minor changes.
I was trying to not make you have a lot more work. That's not what I was up to. Just want.
Oh, no, I mean, Rick, I'll make those changes in 10 minutes, if that.
Thank you.
All right, so you voting on it now, Rick?
Yep. Yes.
Well, yes from Rick, a yes from me,
Yes.
yes from Barbara, and a yes from Carol. Okay. So now the
Thank you.
RFP for latex modified chip seal. So I will make a motion that we approve the RFP as written.
A second.
Okay, moved and seconded. Any discussion on that one? All right, seeing none. Ricky,
Yes.
Barbara,
Yes.
Carol.
Yes.
All right, 4 yeses. Moving forward.
Okay.
All right, and then it's the next one, the
The skid
skid
steer.
steer. Okay, move this out.
So Bruce and Kenny are both here, so they can weigh in. But we got 5 responses for the RFP for the skid steer, and 3 of them were less than the $59,000 that the voters designated or authorized to use from the undesignated fund. So the transfer station committee met last week and recommends purchasing a Kubota skid steer with a high flow option and a power sweeper from MB Tractor and Equipment of Fairfield. Now, the high flow option will allow for future attachments such as a snowball.
Okay.
And
And-
also the bucket, right?
The bucket does come with it.
Okay.
And MB locked in a price of $57,828 with the delivery date of no later than September the 15th. And so your packet does include a bid tab for that. Bruce, you want to talk as to why that was the recommendation?
Union Farm, they were kind of in quite a gray area on their RFP. They could change their price at any time between accepting and delivery. So that's why we backed out of that one. In the John Deere, talking with people that operate the equipment, all kind of suggested to stay away from the John Deere. That's kind of why we went. The machine was, the John Deere machine was a little bit more, but the John Deere with the sweeper is a little bit less. So just basically the same warranty. The lift capacity, the Kubota has a little more lift capacity than the John Deere. So we chose the Kubota.
Okay.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, so I'll make a motion that we award the bid to MB Tractor and Equipment for Kubota High Flow with a sweeper and a bucket for $57,828.
Second.
Ooh, These are on fire tonight.
It's a long agenda.
Yeah.
All right, moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none. Barbara,
Yes.
Carol,
Yes.
Ricky.
Yes.
All right, 4 yeses. All right, next up, we have the RFP for cleaning services. The motion of that item.
Someone.
Second.
Okay, seconded. All right, we are open for discussion.
So this would be for the deep cleaning and subsequent weekly cleaning of the town office, the Center for All Seasons, North Belgrade Community Center, and the Lakes Fire Station. We may not need the deep cleaning at the center since that was
I
done
was gonna ask.
last year. But we'll see what the price is, and we'll just at least want to give you guys an option. Our staff over there has done, I think, a really good job of keeping that place clean since it has undergone the deep cleaning. They're over there cleaning every single day now. Funds for this work have been included in the facility maintenance budget, which of course was approved at town meeting.
I move we approve RFP for cleaning services.
No, the contract would be for 1 year.
Correct.
Okay. So, because I'm just wondering how often we would want to make sure we get a deep clean done. Should it be?
And this is the first time that we've done this, so it'd be a good year to, sort of try it out. And then after that, if we want to, well, what we could do is we could do a 1-year contract with maybe a 2-year option.
Yeah,
If we like the job that's done, that way we don't have to go through this process again.
yep,
A good idea.
Okay.
yep, I like that idea. What are your thoughts on that, Rick?
I guess we gotta give it a try. We don't have people that can do it, so.
So, but to put it out for a 1-year contract with the possibility for a 2-year extension or
Option.
with the option 2-year if we're happy at the end of the year.
I'm fine with that. We can decide if we want to keep them another year or not. So, yep.
Okay. All right. So is that your amended?
I move we approve it as amended.
I'll second that.
All right. Any further discussion on that? Seeing none. Ricky?
Yes.
Barbara?
Yes.
Carol?
Yes.
All right, 4 yeses.
I just have a question. How is this distributed? How is this publicized so that the cleaning services know that this is an option?
So we will put it on our website and on the main municipal website. We had previously, remember, solicited some deep cleaning services, and so we'll send that to this to both of those vendors as well that we previously talked to. And on our social media as well.
Yeah, because I don't know where else you put for. I don't know where else they would look to see if they could pick up new clients.
Seems reasonable.
Yep. All right, next up on the agenda. We have discussion and consideration of executing a 2-year contract option with RKO for our annual financial audit. I'll make a motion to open that item. I'll take a motion to open that.
So,
Yeah.
So, all right, what were you gonna say, Rick? Oh, still didn't hear you.
I think he was just second.
I said I'm fine with it.
So is that your motion?
I'll make the motion. We accept that.
Second.
With it, I think, let us stay with what we got.
Yeah, I think they've done a great job, so.
Yeah.
They've
And
been,
the,
I can't say enough good things about how great they are to work with. In that they've just been super responsive. Every time we send an email to Jennifer, I mean, she responds within like 10 minutes. And she's been really helpful as far as making suggestions to us that have helped us improve our operations. So just tremendously helpful. You know, a lot of people think that auditors are punitive, but they're really there to help you do a better job. And I think RKO is a perfect example of that.
Well, we've always felt like it's nice to have another set of eyes looking at what we're doing. Transparency is key.
well, and the rate increases are exceedingly reasonable.
I know.
Yeah, $50 a year, like, take that and run.
All right, so Ricky made a motion. Did somebody-
second.
Carol seconded it. Any more discussion? All right, seeing none. Barbara,
Yes.
Ricky,
Yes.
Carol.
Yes.
All right, 4 yeses. All right, discussion of the proposed sexual harassment policy.
So the town's employment guidelines speaks very briefly to harassment and sexual harassment. I include that passage in your backup memo. If the select board is interested in adopting a more robust harassment policy, the Maine Municipal Association offers the document that I also provided to you, which is a template.
I think the more extensive one is the one that I would be in favor of.
I think we need it spelled out appropriately. And it does pick up some other things that you might not think of, such as veteran status or whistleblower status, or some of those things that just lines it out that these are not going to be, allowed.
Right, that's still harassment.
Right. So I like the more explicit one.
Is this one that we already had or not?
Yeah.
So our harassment policy is the one that's the section 2 of the town's employment guidelines.
Okay.
Just says the
But I
town
kinda thought-
recommends-
So it's just that first paragraph of your background memo. Rick.
So, but what are your thoughts, Ricky, on expanding upon that paragraph and making it, this is our harassment and sexual harassment policy? Anyone who sits on a board or a committee or works for the town in any capacity or volunteers in the town needs to sign this stating that they stand that.
Yeah, and they gotta make sure they take the training now too. I mean, not just signing it. I think they need to make sure it's done, whether they do it online or if they take it in the once a year deal that we offer in town, it definitely needs to be done.
And we had good turnout for the Super Sunday training this year.
Is that mostly for the fire department?
So it's what, about 2/3 of a day of training, Bruce? So the very first portion, that first couple of hours relates to sexual harassment and harassment training, bloodborne pathogens, and then also the use of fire extinguishers. So all town employees get those three, and then there's some additional training for firefighters.
On the last page, under the section of Maine Human Rights Commission, could we change in the first sentence, any employee or official who believes, rather than that believes? Because in the paragraph up above that, any municipal employee or official who witnesses. So
Grammatically, it should be who.
it should be who. And there's a precedent.
So I think in order for us to require that people take, and it has to be, you know, strictly, like I think what Dan was saying is like the one I already took for work, I can't use for this. So it's gonna have to be something separate. So
Right.
that's something that we're gonna have to coordinate because not everybody's available on the same time. MMA has a what, just by, is it a DVD?
It is, but also the Super Sunday training is videotaped, and people who did not attend then have to watch the videotape of the training that went on.
Okay, so how could we do that realistically with everyone who volunteers for various boards and committees and that, if we make that a requirement?
Well, you could make it a requirement, and we could, so what you could do is you could put that video on the town's YouTube page with a private link that is then sent to everybody. I don't know how you would, I mean, you'd have to get, I guess, someone to sign saying, yes, I have actually watched this video.
You can have them come in and test and say, I watched it. We don't know if they did, but we'll have to make the assumption, they've said they have.
Right. The other thing you could do is in the future, you could take one committee meeting and you could play that video in your committee meeting to get, you know, what you need for.
Yeah.
But not everyone would be at that committee meeting probably, so I think maybe we should let the committees figure out if they want to get together and do it, or if they want to allow them to see it online. I mean, some committee may say, let's just everyone get here and do it.
Well,
I
and we,
think-
and
I
we
think it's,
stagger how people,
I think the select board needs to decide how it's gonna be done, not let the committee. I think if you guys need to make a rule, either you guys show up on Super Sunday and get this, or, you know, you can't just rely on, especially if something this important. This is a very important thing. I've stressed this for, you know, you guys know, I've stressed this for 2 years. It's a very important thing. So I think that you guys need to really stress it. If you can't rely on somebody, oh, I took it, I was watched online. No, that doesn't work.
right,
You got to, somebody's got to be present to witness it.
But there's nothing in here in this policy that mentions training is required.
right,
So-
which is our whole point.
Right,
is
so
that
we would have to
need
add that, we would have, if we want to require that, we would have to add it to
Well,
this.
I would think
Or
you just.
we pass our policy and then we can deal with how we want to have it trained. But we have a
Oh.
policy that's gonna be,
Okay, the policy first.
this is the policy.
Yeah.
And then we can talk about how we want.
But this should be.
implement it.
paid- This should be done for paid employees. It's, you know, I'm a little bit wish-washy. You go asking volunteers to do this, and they may tell you they're not gonna volunteer for it.
I'm concerned about if we
Now,
can't have
paid
them do
employees.
it.
And I think we need to look at that real hard.
So what happens though, Ricky, if say we have somebody on the Board of Parks and Rec who sexually harasses another member on the Board of Parks and Rec? We haven't had them sign anything because they're not paid employees for the town. So they don't get a copy of the employment guidelines. We're still responsible if there's a complaint made against someone who volunteers on a committee in town.
That may be, that's a gray area again. How are you gonna make a volunteer do anything they don't wanna do? Think about that a minute. If somebody told me that I had to, I mean, I'd take it. I've been through it enough times, but there may be some people that are not gonna do that. But I think
Well,
we need to get the policy in place, then we can work on what's gonna happen from there.
No, because I'm wondering if somebody is appointed for a 3-year position or a committee seat for 3 years, you know, do they have to watch this video every single year if it's going to be the same video?
Every place I've worked with had to.
Right.
As employees, you have to.
Because the policy,
3 times a year.
policy says officials and employees, as well as non-employee guests, customers, invitees, vendors, and suppliers. But again, they wouldn't have to do the training, but it doesn't mention anything about volunteers, right in the second paragraph. This policy applies to all officials and employees, but it doesn't say anything about committee members or volunteers.
I mean, I think the town can take employees and require they do it in person.
Right.
Whether they do it, you get them all together one time, or whether they do it on Super Sunday. So you can track those 12 or 13 people and know they have it. And then I think for other people, it's, if we make all the volunteers come to either 1 or 2 sessions, we're going to lose a lot of volunteers. I think we offer it, we say otherwise, we're going to require that you sign a form saying you've listened to it.
You think they're not going to become volunteers because they don't want to give up a day for a meeting, or they don't want to have to abide by the policy?
Either one, or you can say, it could be you have Super Sunday and they can't do it, and the other time you do it, they're not available to be there.
Right.
So now how do we say, well, you got to get off the committee because you didn't come to one of the 2 sessions. There's got to be a way to,
That's why I say do it at a committee meeting.
yeah, so you could do it at a committee meeting, or,
If they don't show the committee meeting, they got 3, as a policy you guys just put in, you got 3 strikes and, well, an excuse you're out anyways.
yeah, but you could just have, I just think that we're making it hard. It's hard enough to get volunteers and people to do things.
When you guys are talking to your employees too, you gotta remember, you got your summer employees that has to have this.
Yeah.
Including the rec, kids at the
Absolutely.
rec need to have it. So you got, you guys gotta, more than just the full-time employees, you got all your part-time employees.
But that's a manageable thing. If you're gonna be a camp counselor, that's one of the things you're going to need to do as part of your
The
employment.
camp counselors, for instance, they have a day of training in
Yeah.
preparation for camp, and this could be a
This would be a part of
portion
it.
that training.
Right.
So
And they're employees.
they're employees. I just think the volunteer is the hard one to make them come on 1 or 2 days.
But if there's a remote option.
If there's a remote option, and if somebody says, yes, I've watched it, and how do we know? We're going to take them at their faith because they're volunteering.
Yeah.
But if something comes up, we can say, you signed here and said you were aware of it.
So,
Well, I
and
didn't
I
really
think
do it.
everybody gets, when they come in to get sworn in,
Sworn in that they would.
you get
read-
a handwritten, here's your copy of the harassment
Right.
policy. And, these are the times that are available. This is what's available for viewing if you choose not to do so. But either way, they've got to sign something saying they received a copy.
I
of the
received a
policy.
copy, or they have, Dee was pointed tonight, she has a month to complete viewing it remote. Because we already done the Super Sunday, and when are we gonna do the next one, and she's got to wait till then, that there's a month for her to take time to go on, view it remote, and sign the form saying she's received her copy and she's viewed the session.
On the other thing, I think Ricky's right. I think you guys need to accept the policy. Then I think you gotta work on some other stuff, because
Right,
for the volunteers, so like for the fire department, you go to your, your nearest, your supervisor up. And, you don't get satisfaction, then you go to your next supervisor, and then from that supervisor, it goes to the town manager, and then the mayor, it goes to,
Yeah.
goes further. So volunteer committees, you gotta come up with who, if it happens, who do they, who does it go to? Does it go to the chair? Does it go to the
Yeah, I
to
would say
the
we go
town
to chair.
manager, or does it go to the chair of the select board? So I think Ricky's right, accept the policy,
Okay,
and then it's gonna take a little bit of homework on you guys to come up with some
Come
type
up
of
with a
policy
suggestion on,
for the
You gotta take
volunteer.
your time and think about it.
Right,
So, but this policy here says this policy applies to all officials and employees, as well as all non-employee guests, customers, invitees, vendors, and suppliers. We need to have volunteers.
right. I mean, do we ask vendors to, are we gonna ask vendors to have a
Nobody
copy
else.
of?
no,
our
but we're saying this
assessment?
applies to them. So if you have a vendor that comes in a regular WB Mason and they come in all the time, they're gonna be subject to this.
Mhm,
And we tell them, you're subject to this policy,
mhm. Or our cleaning contractor.
cleaning contractors. So they're all gonna be subject to it. Then we'll have to look at who are we going to require to have the training and who are going to say, yes, I'm aware of it, and who are we gonna say you have to view it? And that will take a working, but that's not what.
They're the private sector out there. You can't make the private sector do something. I mean, if they come in and do it, they're in trouble. Any way you look at it. But we can't tell them what kind of training they gotta have. Unless you don't want them coming in anymore, because that may happen.
Right,
Right, no, that's not what I was saying, Ricky. What I was saying is that we don't have volunteers or anyone included in the policy that we're now considering adopting at tonight's meeting.
But we have
Officials.
We have
employees,
vendors
and-
in there, but we don't have volunteers on any board or committee.
And why would we have vendors in it?
because that's what's in the policy that's written up by.
Well,
you.
and I don't think when it says this policy applies to, I don't think this means everybody who walks through the door gets a copy of this. I
Right,
think, I think that what it means is anyone who comes into our workplace is not allowed to do these.
these things, absolutely. That's right.
So if an employee makes a complaint about it to their supervisor, it's up to the supervisor to call the vendor's supervisor and
Right.
say there's been a
This is what
complaint,
happened.
harassment, blah, blah, blah.
So we can just add volunteers. This policy applies to all officials and employees of the municipality of Belgrade, as well as volunteers, non-employee guests, customers, or else put volunteers up in the first part of the sentence, officials, employees, and volunteers
That's where I put it.
in the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Well, the only reason I wouldn't put it up there is because officials and employees, we're going to require they do it in person, probably. So if you have volunteers down on the next line, it
Well,
sort of
so-
separates it out. That's all I'm thinking. is
Yeah,
for
it
the
makes it-
ease of, if you're not going to require all the volunteers to go to the big Super Sunday, maybe they should be as well as all volunteer, non-employee guests. Because you could treat the first part of it as require a person, and the second part of that sentence to require as viewing or however we
Mhm.
decide to provide it.
Mhm.
I can live with it either way, but
Yeah.
I think it just divides it out easier.
But if we have volunteers, I mean, do we want to have volunteers who wouldn't abide by this policy? That's the other question.
I'm not worried about, I mean, I think volunteers will abide by the policy. I think it's the way of saying to someone, you have to come this day, and they couldn't come on Super Sunday. Oh,
Right.
and we're now gonna do it on March
Right,
21st.
but that's what we're dealing with the next time.
Right,
Yeah, and I think, yes, I think that's important, as Ricky said, it's an
Yeah.
important distinction to
Right.
distinguish between the
Yeah.
policy and the training.
so I think we pass this, we put the volunteers in, and we pass the policy.
Right.
And then we put it on the agenda to come back up, and maybe one or two of us work on it in the interim, so that at the next meeting, we can look at it, see if we need to tweak it some more, and then plan in 2 meetings from now to be able to pass it.
Okay, so officials, employees, and volunteers of the
No,
municipality?
I would say officials, employees of the municipality, as well as all volunteer, non-employee guests, customers, invitees, vendors, is what I would do if it were mine. If I had the magic wand. I could live with it either way.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So, but if we're going to, so on the last page of it, we have any municipal employee or official who witnesses, becomes aware of, or is the recipient, is encouraged and expected. So if there isn't an official that witnesses an interaction between two volunteers on a committee, then what?
Well, this is requiring that employees and officials can't look the other way.
Right.
And it doesn't say it's required. It's
It just says
encouraged and expected to.
is encouraged and expected, because we can control employees and officials. We can't totally control volunteers.
Again, you got to remember that the select board is the board of appeals when it comes to something like that. So it goes to the town manager or whoever's in charge. And we never hear about it unless they come to us.
Right, so I think that's fine to leave the volunteers out of that last part.
I do.
And I'm fine with putting it as all volunteers, non-employee guests, blah, blah, blah. If you want to,
All right, let's do it that way.
because then that does tie in a little bit better with that part on the
So then we
last,
keep
because
talking
then
employees
employees and officials,
and that they
and
say
volunteers
someplace
are
over
lumped in
here,
with the other
employees and
I think
officials.
that's fine.
Okay.
Employees and officials. So do we need a new
Make
motion?
Yes, we do.
I move we adopt the harassment and sexual harassment policy as amended.
Actually, this is a whole new policy, so it could just be adopt the policy.
I'll adopt, it's the MMA.
Yeah.
Well, it's
Okay.
already
We already-
specifically for Belgrade,
Right,
so,
Because Anthony tweaked
but
it.
I think you were talking
We
about
included
you were
Belgrade.
talking about the amendments that we put in, adding
Right.
volunteers and changing.
that's
the
what I
that to
was
who.
amended, what was printed in front of us by adding volunteers.
Okay,
That's the amendment.
but it's not a policy that's already in place, so it's not amended. So we're adopting the MMA's more robust sexual harassment and harassment policy as written.
It's not as written because they don't have volunteers, so we're amending their policy.
We already amended it because we
We
kept
already
it for
amended it because we
Belgrade.
added Belgrade in it.
This is not
Okay.
their policy.
This is not-
We
yeah.
used it as a template.
Yeah. I
So
don't think we
now,
need to
so
refer to
now
the
this
MMA.
is
You make
us.
the motion and I'll second it.
I move that we accept the harassment and sexual harassment policy with two changes, adding volunteers in the second paragraph as all volunteers, comma, non-employee guests. And on the last page, changing that to who in the first sentence, any employee or official who groups.
And this new policy will replace the town's existing policy.
Right, to replace the town's existing policy.
I second that.
Did we cover it all, Rick, do you think?
I'm probably gonna vote against it because of the volunteers in there. I think we need to do more thought on that before we start adding them. We need to come up with a better plan than that. Because I'm thinking, I'm playing devil's advocate here. If I was a volunteer and you start telling me I've got to take these classes and courses, I'm probably gonna tell you, I'm not interested.
So how about, Ricky, if you go volunteer at the elementary school, you're gonna get fingerprinted, you're gonna get a background check done, and you're gonna be doing harassment policies, and you're not getting paid, you're volunteering. But you're gonna be doing it all, because you're volunteering.
Probably wouldn't do it then. I mean, in today's, I'm just thinking the worst scenario. I mean, I'm not gonna support it till we come up with something better. I support the rest of it, 100%, we need it, but I'm not gonna support the volunteer part of it yet until,
But again, Ricky, based on your previous argument, we're not talking about training at this point. We're not talking about requiring volunteers to do training. We're just adding volunteers as you know,
Having
the-
to
the
comply
other-
with our
having to
policy.
comply with the policy.
So we're saying volunteers cannot sexually harass someone, is what we're saying.
And they would be given a copy of the policy.
But that comes later. I mean,
Right.
all we're passing here is, we're not letting people get involved in harassment or sexual harassment. And then we'll work on implementing how it gets disseminated, trained, and so on.
It's just tweaking our policy at this point, Rick. It's not putting anything else in there.
I guess I need some time to think about it. Whenever you add a name to something, you're telling them they gotta do it sooner or later. I wanna make sure we're ready for this.
So this was just put in as a discussion tonight. I just said I wanted it not to get pushed, kick the can too far down the road. We don't have it necessarily in for consideration.
But we're voting on it tonight. It's gonna be in there.
Well, no, right, we don't have to vote on it. We can say it's a discussion of the proposed policy.
Okay, I'll go along with that.
We tweak it and we bring it to the next meeting. And
Yep.
whatever suggestions people have, we'll incorporate them
Sure,
at that.
that's
point.
fine.
Does that sound
I
okay?
think, and I think we need the full board here when we do this too. That was it. You know me.
All right, so why don't I make a motion that we table this item and bring it forward at our next board meeting for discussion and consideration.
I'll second that.
Okay, so that's moved and seconded to table that to the next meeting. And is everyone okay with that?
Yes,
Yes. I'm
Okay,
fine with it.
so Barbara,
yes.
Carol,
Yes.
Ricky?
Yes,
All right, 4 yeses. So if you want to just keep this right in our books. So that.
and I understand what you're trying to do and what, it's probably the right thing, but I need some time to digest this a little bit, to see what I really think.
Well, and that's the only reason I kept it on here, Ricky, was I was afraid if we kicked it down the curb again, then we're gonna forget to pick it back up.
There's no question in my mind that we need a sexual harassment update on this, and I'm all in favor of it. The only thing is scares me a little bit is the volunteer. I think full-time employees, part-time employees need to have it done. It's law, I believe.
Right, but in my mind, if we talk about these other people, customers, invitees, vendors and suppliers, they're even more peripheral to the
Right.
town than our volunteers are. So
Right.
that's why I would include volunteers in this, just because they represent our town. And we want to make sure that they represent our town in a way that's appropriate.
Right.
Right. Okay.
Okay,
All right.
Next time.
Moving forward.
Next up on the agenda is a discussion and consideration of extending the moratorium ordinance regarding commercial solar facilities, commercial wind energy facilities, and telecommunications towers. So take a motion to open that item.
So moved.
second,
Moved and seconded. That is open for discussion.
So this document that I put into your packet, throw that away. Because I did that because our attorney was out on vacation last week. And so I just wanted to make sure that if we needed that, we had it. I spoke with him today. He said, all we need is a simple motion from the board, memorialized in the minutes, just saying that you move to extend the moratorium by 180 days. And that's it. So.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
And I just want to call your attention to one thing. So I did make a mistake in the first line of this background memo where it says it expires May 16th. And I thought that was true because it was approved on May 16th. And Phil Socia reminded me that we actually made that retroactive to back it up. And so this won't quite get us to November the 8th, but in the ballot language that we'll have on November 8th, we'll make that retroactive to any sort of pending as well. So we should be covered. We shouldn't have to worry about anybody sort of
Sneaking in.
an application in.
So when does it expire?
It expires, no, so this would expire if you extend this November 5th,
November 5th, okay.
which is a Saturday. And then Monday is November 7th, and then the election is November the 8th. So,
Okay.
so again, all Phil said, and he will help us with that ballot language, is just to make sure that we make that retroactive to cover.
No
any
one
sort of
submits an
pending
application on November 7th,
Right.
right? We could just close up for the day and then they couldn't.
Actually, code enforcement isn't it?
Well, but we would still
Oh,
perhaps
yeah.
receive the
Yeah.
application.
Yeah,
Okay, and you're gonna make sure that in your absence, somebody's gonna pick that ball up?
Yes, I'm going to, I'll send a note to Mary and to Richard.
To be opened
Right.
in October or something.
Well, although, I have volunteered my services to help the planning board continue with their solar regulations, so I'll still be plugged in on this particular issue. So in fact, I created a timeline today working back from November 8th so that we know when the planning board has to have their work done in order for the rest of the process to play out.
and do you feel confident they'll be able to fit
Yes.
in that? Okay,
Yes, they're really close right now. So they had a good presentation at the last meeting on visual assessments
mhm,
by a landscape architecture firm that does those sort of things. And so I think they have a better understanding of that. And so they really, for all intents and purposes, only have 2 sections left that they have to address. And they need to be done by June. They're in good
Okay.
shape.
Okay. All right, so that has been motioned and seconded. If there's no more discussion, Barbara,
Yes,
Carol,
yes,
Ricky,
Yes,
all right, 4 yeses. Let's get into November. All right, next up, we have the acceptance of the town manager's resignation. I will make a motion that we accept Anthony Wilson's resignation effective May 31, 2022 with regret. If nobody seconds it, you can't.
I was gonna say, if we don't
Just
second
saying.
it, then you can't leave.
I'll make the motion. If he's got something better he's going for, great.
All right.
I'll second it so he can move on with regret.
All right, moved and seconded. All those in favor, Ricky,
Yes,
Barbara,
Yes, with
Carol.
regret.
With deep regret, yes.
I'm not taking it. I'm saying no. So you can put that in the official minutes. Okay. All right, next up, we have the warrant. Sit right here, warrant number 43. We have it as a reprint. Is that just?
Yes, that's, Nick couldn't get that off there, so he assured me it's official.
Okay.
He signed it.
All right, so warrant number 43 in the amount of $91,551.34. All right. We'll take a motion to open that item. Moved and seconded. All right, what do we got for discussion?
got a couple. Yeah, let me find them again. Looks like, let me find the page here. I'm on my phone doing this and it's a little slow here. We got Height Ford again for repairs on the F-350 for $136.72. Production still under warranty.
Let me look real quick, Greg, to see what the repair was.
Well, that's
Yeah,
okay.
let me-
Is this the new one?
It's page 6. Yes. believe it is.
That was my question, was whether it was the new one or if this is,
No, see, up to 50. It's a new one.
okay.
Trailer plug was inoperable, found that fuse amp blown out. It's hard to tell, I can't tell what they charge for each one of these. Oh, but that says it was under warranty.
I would still be under warranty.
Yeah, it should be bumper to bumper.
Yeah, that's a good point, Rick. I'm looking at this now, and the 4 things that they have on here all have warranty in parentheses, and I don't see what all it says is a total due, so I don't see what the amount due was for.
There's
Couldn't
no
have
oil
been.
change or anything on it at the same
No,
time?
so yeah, let's pull, if we can, let's pull that, and then we will, I'll call them tomorrow to find out what that is for.
Thank you. On page 9, Treasury, State of Maine. It looks like there's 2 water tests done on the
Yes,
same numbers.
yes, but they were different water tests at the Center for All Seasons.
Okay.
They used to
Um,
test-
The other thing was, we had 3 or 4 more Adobe charges on here. I can't find them right now, but I questioned that last meeting.
Yeah,
I think they're on card services, aren't they?
they are. So,
Yeah, there's
Page
2
2,
more,
Rich.
page 2.
yeah, so there are 3 charges for Adobe. So we have 3 subscriptions. Each subscription can accommodate 2
Two
people.
people.
And so I think Nick sent out something after the last meeting to explain that, or maybe Mary explained during the meeting that if we had fewer subscriptions, people would be kicking other people off as they're using
Right.
Adobe in order to use it. So that's the number of subscriptions we need in order
And it's
to fund it.
a monthly
It's a
charge.
monthly charge.
So why are
It was-
we not? Like, why
It
are we
was-
not, why is it not being provided by our IT provider? That we have what we need in order to operate?
Oh, Adobe is like Word or Office or some such. I mean, it's not something that an IT provider
Right.
would provide.
You choose what you want, if you want to use it for.
Well, and then, well, because it's required for us to be able to view a lot of documents within the town.
Yeah, but again, I mean, so Microsoft Exchange or the Office suite, Microsoft Word. So those are subscriptions that we pay for, but that is part of our IT contract. This is not part of the IT contract. It's sort of separate and apart from the Office suite.
Okay.
But we need it in order to function.
Yeah, most definitely.
So then what I would like to see is if we can get some sort of a discount if we do it yearly, instead of paying it monthly. And if
okay,
we're doing, and
I'll
if we're
ask you about
doing 3,
Yeah, I'll ask you about that. I remember at one time you could sort of you could do it on a month by month basis. And, you only tapped into it when you paid for it, when you needed it. And then Adobe got really smart about it and said, no, it's going to be a monthly subscription regardless of whether you use it or not. So,
Thank you. That's all I had.
a year for us.
okay.
So, rekeying Dalton, what is that? Is
What
this,
page?
this is page 7?
We had a tenant move out, so the leasing agent rekeyed it just to ensure that the tenant didn't have keys made while they were living in it, wouldn't be able to get into the house.
So I don't recall seeing that we've done that with other tenants. Like, I don't recall us rekeying every time there's a change in tenancy.
I mean, I think it's smart because there's nothing to prevent someone from taking a house key and taking it to.
Right,
Lowe's and
absolutely.
making copies.
We just put new locks in last time, but I think the guy was here to rekey them and they just did them, I would guess. That's what I took.
I would not want to be responsible if somebody came back with a key from a prior tenant.
Oh, I
So,
wouldn't either, but I mean, I'm just thinking of, other apartments and rentals. I've never seen us rekey between tenants. And is it something I've just missed, or is it just,
I don't know, I think there's only been 2 people live there since I've been here.
but there were a couple before that?
Well, for $15, it seems a reasonable
Actually,
cautionary.
$8, only been 2 people.
2 people at 8.
So it's been in there for rentals.
Okay, so. Okay, and my other one was, we pay a butt ton for paper towels. And I'm just wondering if we have folks that are going to Sam's, why we are paying WB Mason to deliver towels, paper towels at $65 a pop. Is that like paper towels,
I
Is
think
that
those are
like
probably,
all of
I
that?
think those are probably the ones that are in the dispensers. I'm not sure.
Because I
I don't
don't
know.
think, I don't think there are any in the ladies' room. There's no dispensers at all. There's just the,
Right, it's
Oh,
just.
right.
just the blowers.
blower.
Right.
So I'm just over here thinking, you can get 12 rolls for $20 or something at Sam's Club. And I know that they do the delivery, but I know that we also have folks running to Sam's Club and stuff for snacks. Can they pick up paper towels?
Yes, in fact, I mean, I have done that for rec, so yeah, I'll make a note of that.
Just see if we can get, that paper towel thing jumps out at me all the time and I always think, dang, there's some price of paper towels.
But maybe it's a lot of paper towels.
Right, and maybe it's paper towels for the whole town.
Well, it may be that they use it in the other places in the regular dispensers, so. I don't know, but they charge it off.
Well, it's under admin, so it's not under like rec, paper towels.
Paper
or-
towel.
No, and I know when I was at the rec center, the paper towels that they're using are the Sam's Club paper towels. So, just because I had to change a roll of paper towels and I was like, oh, good. So, that's the only thing I had other than that.
The only thing I had, and I checked with Anthony on this, on page 4, we paid almost $40 in interest on our credit card.
Yeah, I saw
And,
the memo.
In speaking with Anthony, sometimes it's the timing between when the credit card bill's due and when the warrant comes out and we miss it, so we have to pay the interest. So it seems as though this is something we should address when we're looking at town manager responsibilities and so on, that we give authority to Nick or to the town manager or someone, because if there's no reason for us to be paying interest.
I've said that over and over again, that I do not expect us to pay late fees or interest fees on anything.
How often does this come up?
Well, it comes up when we have 3 weeks between select board meetings as opposed to 2.
So it probably comes up 3 or 4 times a year.
Yeah,
And it's just,
right. It's
we
money
should,
don't have to
we
be
should
spent.
give that authority so that to pay whatever needs to be paid so that we're not paying interest. And we don't need to decide tonight, but to carry that forward when we're looking at responsibilities and so on. That I just don't think we should.
No,
What
I
about
don't.
calling the credit card company and complaining? They usually take it off if you call and get a hold of the supervisor. I mean,
Right.
this isn't something they do every month, so.
And every once in a while we do see it, and I know we've had this conversation several times,
It just seems though we should come up with a policy that would address that moving forward. Not tonight, but another one of the, what things do we need to keep in front of us?
Mhm.
All right, any more discussion on this warrant? All right, seeing none, Barbara,
Yes,
Kim,
Yes,
Ricky,
Oh, minus the
Yes.
height.
minus the one for heights. So the warrant as amended. All right, so 4 yeses.
okay.
All right, next up, we have the town manager's report.
Just a couple of quick items. We're going to be interviewing a recreation director candidate tomorrow afternoon, so keep hope alive,
Cross your fingers and your toes.
right? Carol mentioned this at the beginning, but just a reminder about the joint meeting between the planning board, the Lakes Committee, and the Comp Plan Committee a week from Wednesday, from 6 to 7:30. And so just as a reminder, this is really a chance for those three boards to meet together so that they can ensure that they're working in concert for the protection and preservation of the lakes. So I think it's going to be a good discussion. Just FYI, road postings were removed yesterday, so our roads are no longer posted. Should you get asked about that, we're getting some calls asking about that. And then lastly, I'm planning on taking a Friday, take a weekend trip.
I was over here thinking, how much more vacation does he have? Is he gonna use it all up?
If he's smart, he'll use it all up.
Yeah, using as much as I can.
Oh, do we pay you out if you don't? Yeah.
That's earned.
I was like, I thought that was part of it, but
That's my report.
So for the municipal clerks week, that'll be. Do you know what day you're going to do? lunch?
Not yet. I
Okay,
gotta, Mary is off this week, so I want to coordinate with her,
okay,
make sure we find a good date for that.
because that might possibly be before our next meeting.
Yeah.
Second and third, so.
all right,
Okay,
so. All right, so I will take a motion for a 2-minute break. And we'll exit the select board meeting and go into executive session.
yep. So move.
All right, all those in favor? Two for me.
Yes,
Yes.
Yes.
Dan wants to zoom in too.
All right, does he think, because he wasn't sure if he was gonna be able to, he said he was gonna. Okay, so, look, so we've re-entered the select board meeting for April 19, 2022. The decisions made in executive session were the Board of Select Persons official acknowledgement of the town manager's resignation is as follows. On April 19, 2022, the Board of Select Persons accepted with regret the resignation of town manager Anthony Wilson effective May 31, 2022. The board appreciates Anthony's dedication and excellent service to the town of Belgrade during his nearly 3-year tenure and wishes him well in his future endeavors. The second decision that was made is that board chair, myself, Melanie Jewell, will contact Maine Municipal Association regarding the job search. All right. I will
I'll
take
make
a
a motion.
motion
So be
to
it.
adjourn.
second,
Move seconded, thirded. All those in favor?
Yes.
And Carol, Barbara, Melanie, 5. Oh, we are
Have a good night.
over now. Good night, everyone.
good night.
Thank you.